Hi, everyone. Welcome to Entrepreneurship by Design with Dr. C. Thank you so much for being here today because I am so excited to introduce you to today's guest, artist Gurm. Artist Gurm was born in India and grew up in China. Having grown up and been schooled in an international environment, immersed throughout a multicultural atmosphere, she's always been fascinated with the unique culture elements and stories from all over the world. After following art as a passion since her middle school days, she honed her skills by doing a master's in visual arts, studio art, in Hong Kong. She works in the medium of drawing, painting, and mixed media. She has had several solo exhibitions and has gained recognition for her art globally. Gurm's artistic inspiration comes from everyday life. She is interested in creating works that represent the familiar world around us. By looking beyond the obvious, Gurm reconstructs the everyday environment around us into something artistically unique, which allows the audience to discover beauty in unusual places. For Gurm, art is not only a way to express herself, but also a therapeutic path of self-discovery. She likes to think that she has not found art, but rather art has found her. She perceives art as a medium to radiate bliss and peace of mind and to bring life to the present moment. Gurm wants people to look at her artworks and experience the same feelings she has while creating them: freedom, satisfaction, and a journey of self-reflection. Thank you so much for being here today, Gurm. I'd love for you to dive into your journey, what got you here today, and then we can dive a little bit deeper.
Thank you for inviting me, Caroline. It's so inspiring to see all that you do as well. And yeah, I love interacting with fellow entrepreneurs. So my journey, art started out as a curiosity, as like, what can I do with this, and how can I explore my own style, and what actually is art? Because in elementary school, in my primary years of school, art wasn't my favorite subject. It wasn't something I liked or even enjoyed, because I was bullied a lot and criticized a lot and judged a lot, laughed at, made fun of for my art and for my particular style. Because, you know, we always have those syllabus in school and teachers always follow this unit, and you have to draw that particular thing, you have to use that particular color, you have to draw it in that specific way. And I used to struggle with that because I didn't realize that everyone has their unique style in something. So I felt really weird or left out, and I felt like I didn't belong or fit in, and I was like, this is not for me, and I'm a failure, I can't do anything with it. So that was initially my thought, and I told everyone around me that I don't know what I will do, but I will never ever do anything art related. I just suck at it. So in 7th grade, my art teacher, she was the first person and first teacher to, I guess, recognize my uniqueness or my talent or whatever you call it. And she, we had those parent-teacher conferences. So she told me that you have to come with your parents, and usually the student doesn't go, it's just parent and teacher. So I was like, oh, now I'm in trouble. Now she's gonna tell my parents the reality that my art sucks and I can't do anything and I'm failing, but like all my previous teachers and classmates and everyone had done. So that's what I expected, right? Yeah. And she said that no, your daughter has a really unique style and special talent, and we should all encourage her. And she said to me that, why are you so scared? Why don't you like art? What happened? It's okay to be different. You know, different is not weird. Different is unique. Different means that you stand out, and you don't always have to fit in. Like every artist is different, and not everyone follows the same style or same structure. And actually, the first artist she introduced me to was Picasso, and I didn't like him for like his style or color or his story. The first thing that attracted me was that he draws trees and houses and faces and all of these objects that my teachers asked me to draw, and he draws them differently. He doesn't draw them in like the same way people are expected to. So that really attracted me. I was like, huh, he became such a famous artist and people like his art, appreciate his art. So why can't I embrace my difference and different style and do it? So that's how it began. And then after that, all my middle and high school teachers were very encouraging and supportive. And my family was like the best family who always supported me and, encouraged me. But when it came to, like, it became a hobby, it was something I started to enjoy and explore, and I had fun with it and everything. But when it came to university, I was like, no, I can't make this a career, because I was still in that scared phase. I was like, what will people think? Will they accept me? And it can't be a career. I had those stereotypes, like the starving artist, and people, this can't be a career full time, and no one is going to buy all my paintings, and no one is going to attend my workshops. Even if I try, I won't be able to succeed. So I need like a proper, right, suitable career. So I did my bachelor's in communication, and I was going to go into like advertising or PR or marketing, and I really loved it. And I was like, okay, this can be my career, and I can do art as a hobby, because that's what it is, a hobby, nothing more. But when I was studying communication and, getting all good grades, and I was getting like offers for jobs and internship opportunities and everything, I was still really attracted towards art, because it was all I spent my free time doing. Whenever I wasn't studying or working on assignments or homework, I filled sketchbook after sketchbook, and I spent my weekends, all my free time, every second I got, just drawing or painting or doodling. So it became something more than a hobby. And I was on this crossroad, like, should I choose communication? Should I choose art? What should I do? Because I can't do both. Logistically, it's not possible. And I love both. But art came straight from my soul, and it was something like, I can't imagine one day without it. So I took a gap year because I was on this crossroad, and I was like, the first thing I should do is post on social media to see what people think, because till now I had only shared it with close family and friends and my teachers, and I didn't know legitimately what the world thought. Like, will they accept it? Will they like it? Or will they say it sucks? And will I be criticized again? I really didn't know. So with my hands really shaking and with my heart pumping and all the fear and all the bravery and all the mixed emotions, I just posted my first piece, and people were like, I love it, and look at that color, and do you do commissions? Oh, this would look so good on a mug or a t-shirt. You should make products. You should participate in fairs and bazaars. And they just started saying all of this, and I was like, wow, people actually like it, and maybe I should try and do something with it. Because till now I had no idea how to operate in the art world, what it was like being an artist, how to work. I had no training. I was basically just, all my art education was from art classes at school, but I wasn't like professionally trained or skilled, and I was just doing it as a hobby. So I was like, okay, let me just try. So I made products. I participated in fairs and bazaars. I got my first few commissions. And, that was what I spent the year doing, trying to understand how people took my art and how it works, and slowly started doing that. And then I built my website. I started writing and sharing videos and doing all of that. And at the end of the year, I knew that this was what I wanted to do full time. And this was meant for me. And this was why it came straight from my soul, and why I couldn't imagine life without it, because it was a perfect fit. So because that was all self-taught and, just my gap year. So I did a master's in visual arts. I was like, I need something that people take me seriously, that I'm a professional artist. And I also need to learn the skills and everything. So then I did a master's in visual arts, and now I'm running my art business.
Love that journey that you've been on. But I'm curious, what was it like that first initial step in that gap year? How did you find the right markets to go to and all the things that you did? What were those steps that you took to be able to start doing it?
I actually grew up in China. So I grew up in a city near the capital. The capital is Beijing. I grew up in Tianjin and I studied there. So the international school I studied in has always been very supportive, both in Tianjin and Beijing. Both my international schools and my universities have all been really supportive. So I started from there actually. Because the schools always have Christmas bazaars and Christmas fairs and just other bazaars and fairs and picnics. So I started from there. I was like, why not start from the schools, two schools, one in Beijing, one in Tianjin. Why not start from there? And because that's where I studied, that's where my teachers encouraged me, that's where all my friends were. So I thought that was a good starting place. So I started from there. And then I grew from there, like all the hotels had bazaars or like some other events happening. I used to find them in like magazines or newsletters, what was happening around. And I used to go there and just say, hey, I maybe pay for a booth if, they don't know me. So I'll just pay for a booth and set it up and see how it goes. So that's the first step I took.
I appreciate you sharing that, because I think it's important, because a lot of people are like, well, where do I start? How do I maneuver this journey? And I think it's great that you started to get it out there, and people started, especially with the social media post first and foremost, and really starting to believe in yourself. That's what I'm hearing as well. Like people around you were believing you. And I love that you had that teacher back in, I think you said elementary school, that was like showing. Yes. And being able to understand that you had a talent and it was unique, and that's art, right? Like it's very subjective to what the person views and how they understand it. And there's no right or wrong. It's just what they like. And I love that you didn't give up, and it just started. You were like, okay, this is a hobby. I got to get a job and like focus on what is going to pay the bills. But because there is that concept of they're starving artists, but being able to persevere through that and build your business to what it is today. And what were some of those steps that you took along that way after the gap year, after you got your master's? What did that look like for you?
After I got my master's, I thought I needed more experience. So I did an internship in an art gallery, really getting inside of the art world. Like, how do artists exhibit? How does framing work? How do you display everything? How do you make invitations for exhibitions? How do you actually grow the connections in the art world and put your art out there? So all of that, I did an internship in a gallery in Hong Kong. So because I did my master's from Hong Kong Baptist University, so I just did an internship at Osage Gallery, Hong Kong. And then after that, I came back here, came back to Tianjin. I mean, here as in Tianjin, China, and then started slowly using all of the education, all of the skills I had, and build my business from there. Like the first step I did was build a website or build an online store, because right now, while most of my sales have been physical, people from social media also approach me saying that, do you ship your work, or how can we buy it online? And a lot of people were asking me about that. And so I started learning that process as well. And then also sharing the behind the scenes, because people are like, okay, we see your artwork and we like it, the final product, but we want to know the story behind it, or what was the process like? What was your inner artist thought like when you started that piece? So I started sharing the story and creating videos and blogs about it as well. So yeah.
Yes, no, and I think that's the beautiful aspect too, like knowing the story, because I feel like storytelling is such a key part of anything we do. And just being able to understand your mind essentially of like where this idea came from and how it really came to life. And it's so beautiful because I'm terrible with art. Like I am not an artist whatsoever, but I can appreciate the fact of how much time and energy goes into it. I'm curious, like I know it varies, I'm sure, piece by piece, but what is like the average it takes you to do one piece?
The longest it takes me is like a little more than a month, like the biggest piece I create. The shortest time is like 2-3 days. So it definitely varies. Yeah. Depending, because I started with A4, right? That's the average size I started with. So the average A4 sketchbook. And then I moved on. The biggest piece I've created is like 100 by 100 centimeters canvas. So yeah.
And I'm curious, what's been your favorite piece that you've created? If you had it.
Oh, that is really, really tough, but I think my favorite pieces have been the one that has come out of my like struggle, like the most difficult or darkest moment of my life. So because my pieces are like very personal to me, and with each piece it's like a part of my life or a part of my soul. So I love my happy pieces because they're like very joyful and happy, and of course there are moments that I want to share my happiness and celebrate, and I love those too. But like for example, I created a kintsugi collection. I don't know if you know what kintsugi is. It's like the Japanese art of putting broken, pottery pieces and melding them with gold. And it's like the broken parts are beautiful. Like even if you have scars, they're still beautiful, and you should show and celebrate them. So one day in my studio, there was flooding, like water everywhere, and there was flooding in my studio. And at that time I was in quarantine, so I couldn't go, of course, to check and everything. So I sent like a few people close to me to go and check and what happened, is everything okay, can you clean up and everything. And I said, just make sure all my paintings are okay. If they're not, just tell me, because I want to be mentally prepared if something happened. And they said everything's good, everything's fine. So I was like, that's a relief. Good, everything's intact. And a few weeks later, I went to my studio. I was preparing for an exhibition, so I was collecting all the works and checking the framing and everything. So I opened one of my artworks folder, and what I see is that they're destroyed with all the water damage, and there's like water in the folder, and it's like all the pens is destroyed, all the color, everything. And I just broke. I just totally shattered and just broke, and I couldn't do anything for days, for weeks. I was like, they're like my babies. Basically my art are my babies, right? So I was like, oh God, I don't know what to do. How am I supposed to exhibit and do all the events and everything? And I was like, I can't even look at that folder. I couldn't even open it or touch it or even be near it. So I just put it to the side and did everything else, just put on a brave face and did everything else. And then one day I opened that folder. I was like, I have to deal with this. I can't run away forever. So I opened it and I was like assessing the damage and everything. And that was when I heard of kintsugi. I just came across something and I was like, oh, this is so interesting. Like people can, and art is about creativity, about imagination. So what if it got destroyed? I can present it in a new way or in a new style or do something else with it and make it better, revamp it. So I cut off the broken pieces and it shrunk because like the good part was smaller. So then I created the kintsugi collection. I added gold pen in it. I just made it golden and I created like my whole kintsugi collection.
It's a beautiful story of like, of course, it's horrible what happened, but there was like such a beautiful message in that of being able to bring the broken pieces together. And that's life, right? When things don't always go our way, but how do we redirect our lives where it's okay that this happened, but what do we do moving forward? And you were able to create this. It was a challenge, but being able to persevere through that and understand there was like a beautiful aspect and result at the end, even though in that moment, it took a while maybe to get there, just in those days and weeks that you weren't producing any art and just really sitting in that. But I think there's that aspect of giving yourself that time and space and processing what happened, but then being able to do something about it. And it sounds like it came out gorgeous. I haven't seen it yet, but I am sure it's somewhere on your social media that I'll have to check out, and everyone else too. But I appreciate you sharing that story and just even kind of looking at that journey of being able to redirect everything. What has been some of the obstacles you've faced in building your business?
Definitely the criticism first, like the fear of what is wrong with me? I'm not good enough. I can't do this, or I will never fit in or belong, or I suck at art. That fear just held me back for so long. And I know, like, okay, my teachers support me, my parents support me, my sister supports me, my family supports me, my friends support me, everyone supports me, right? But until I took a long time, like, okay, they believe in me, but I don't believe in myself, so there's no point in that. And that was the biggest obstacle, trying to believe in myself, trying to be proud of myself, trying to be satisfied with my artworks. Because those initial social media posts, I posted it just just posted it just for the sake of posting it. Like I posted it when I didn't believe in myself, when I was having all those thoughts, and I was like, oh, whatever, let me just post it. And people, even though people's reactions were really good and supportive, and they were also kind, and they were like, we want to see more and you're amazing, I was like, they're just saying that to be nice to me. They're just lying to me. They don't actually like it. And that took me a long time to overcome. And I was like, if they don't like it, they will say they don't like it, right? Like everyone did in my past. They're not going to lie to me, because art is subjective. If I don't like something, I will just say it, that I don't like it, or, you can do this with it. Oh, it took me a long time to come to terms with that. So I think that was one of the biggest obstacles.
Well, that's a big obstacle, because I do think it's the mindset around it, the self-belief. I think a lot of people on this journey experience that. I think a lot of people in life experience that, where whether it's their career, job, family, whatever it may be. But I love that you were able to move through that and understand that people do like your art, they love it. And in those initial steps, because it was something new, you don't always know how it's going to turn out. But especially those first few posts or first like clients, anything that we deal with on this journey, it's understanding too, you got to start somewhere, being able to recognize, okay, they weren't just being nice. They truly, genuinely loved it. You were saying like it is subjective, but at the same time, like you're very honest about things and thinking, okay, well, maybe they're not, and whatever it may be. But I love that you were able to really reframe that and understand that it was because they truly really appreciated it and what you were doing, because I think it's subjective, but at the same time, you're pouring your heart and soul in it. And I'm sure that speaks out in just the few pieces I've seen on your social media, your YouTube channel, all the other aspects of just how beautiful it is. And that's what I think. I mean, maybe other people agree, maybe they don't, but it's really about the work that you're putting out there and being able to have that. And I'm curious, has there been a piece that just really spoke from your soul that you were able to sell or have in an exhibit, anything along those lines?
Another.
I mean, all of them do, but like, I mean, one
Yeah,
that stands out the most.
it's actually my most recent painting. I don't know if you've seen it, the peacocks.
Wow.
Yeah, okay, but so right now I'm actually currently in India, and I'm speaking to you from India, and I'm doing this in a transition phase. There's a lot of highs and lows, ups and downs going on right now personally.
Yeah.
So it's like a adjustment, transition phase, like a change, and it's like, where do I fit in? Where do I belong? And always during these kind of mixed feelings or mixed moments, I always turn to my art. And my art is not like realistic in the realistic sense, and it's not abstract in the abstract sense. It's like somewhere in between. It's like I've made my own Gurm style kind of art. So I've, like, for this painting, I always wanted to do something with animals. I was like, I'm in nature, I see so many animals. I'm in India where there's so many peacocks, and I was like, the first thing I did, the first thought I had was like, not peacocks. It was like, I want to do something rainbow, like celebrating all the colors of life, all the moments, and how life is all of different colors. And it's still beautiful, whether it's high or low, dark or light. So first I did like the colorful background, and then I was like, peacocks, because peacock feathers are like, very colorful and very bright and very cheerful. But I was like, I already used color in the background. I don't want to use color for the peacock. So I made it black and white. So the contrast is like that. So that is like the most recent piece that spoke from my heart.
I definitely have to check it out right after this, because I could just imagine the contrast to just from seeing your other work. I'm sure it's just stands out. And I love the creativity too, because you can really, it never has to be one way. And I think that's entrepreneurship too. And that's why I love like even entrepreneurship by design, because it's designing your own life and what works best for you in any capacity, because no two things, you can have the same truths, but it looks different for everybody. And I'm curious, because of this journey, how it's been ups and downs, and I know you're going through a transition right now, what are maybe 2 or 3 tips that you could give entrepreneurs on this journey, maybe in particular for artists, but in general too, however you want to answer that?
My first tip is what I always say is be your authentic, unique self, because we're all on our own journeys, as you said, and we all have different ways of doing things. There's no like right way, because there's so many videos or tutorial or coaches or posts and all of that out there. And sometimes it may work for you. I'm not saying that they're all wrong. I'm just saying that sometimes it may work for you and sometimes it may not. And that's okay too, because it's like, what works for you, follow that. And it doesn't matter if people think that, well, what is she doing, or what has he gotten into, or what are they thinking? It doesn't matter, because it's your way, and it's how you think about things, how you say things, how you do things, and how you perceive things. And that is the best way, whatever comes from your heart or soul, and trust your instinct and just be yourself, because people really get inspired by that and they can relate to that. They're like, if they can be their unique selves, why can't I? And it's not like, just take off that mask. Don't, because I used to have this public persona and private persona. Publicly, I was like, I have to do things the way society expects. I have to use those words in my post. I have to format my video like this. I have to do it that way. I can't do it any other way. Even if I like it or not, I can't do it any other way because people won't accept it. And privately, I was just me. And it got so exhausting. Got so exhausting of just faking it or pretending, even like I'm okay, I'm so happy. And deep down, I was just breaking. So I think that be your authentic, unique self is my tip because, yeah.
Oh, you spoke to me just now, and I'm sure so many other people, because it can be really challenging when you feel like you have to fit into society versus who you are. And I struggled with that when I was a therapist, of just having to really put my feelings aside of what was going on in my life to be present for my clients and like what they were going through and their struggles, especially when it comes to mental health. But I was like going through, especially the last year I was practicing, going through just a really hard time. It was one of the darkest times of my life, but being able to have to put that aside, and it does become exhausting. And eventually I left the field, and a huge advocate for it and will be till the end of time. But to your point, it's when we are authentic, people can relate to it. It's not this persona of like, oh, she seems so happy and this and that, when it's a hard day, and it's okay to admit that. And I think we're going to have hard times too. It might be more than a day, but recognizing at the end of the day, we're human. And that's what makes us so cool, is like being unique and showing that we're all a little bit different in our own ways. And that's a beautiful thing, because what I have to offer is different what you have to offer versus the next person. And it makes it so cohesive in a way of just like, there's so much space and room for everybody. And I wish everybody would knew that.
People are like, oh, there's so much competition in every field and I will never make it. And it's like, I don't want to copy that person, but that thing is trending or that thing is working. So I have to do that. But, I don't see anything as competition, like whatever I do. I see it as inspiration. I'm like, that is so cool. How can I make that in my style? I want to keep that same idea, but I want to do it in my way. So it's like the same idea, but it's presented differently, and people can relate to that because it's like, that's what Gurm said, not what that person said. So
100%. No, I'm so glad you brought that up, because it's true. At the end of the day, when we're going through something, it's understanding there's this piece of competition shouldn't exist. Like, yes, it motivates people, and like I did competitive sports growing up and all of those things. But at the same time, I think to your point is understanding there is room for everybody. There is no competition, because everybody is different. You might have similar qualities and things along those lines, but even your upbringing, like you could have, you mentioned you have a sister too, like you could have a completely different viewpoint of growing up. My sister, brother, and I have different capacities of how we view the world, but that's what I think is so beautiful about each human being. Everybody brings something unique to the table, and recognizing like competition needs to go out the window and focus on community. But where can people find you, find your art? We're going to link everything below, but if you could let us know too.
I'm everywhere. I'm just spread out. I'm on Facebook, Insta, LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok. Yeah. So you can find me there by the name Gurm's Art. So GURMS ART. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on, sharing your beautiful soul with us. I love your energy, and I just so appreciate what you're doing in this world and bringing some light when it comes to art and just your energy, putting your soul into your work. I know I appreciate it, and I'm sure everyone listening does too.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I really appreciate you as well. And one more point, I remember you said that your art is terrible and you don't think you're an artist, but I think a lot of people have said this to me. A lot of people have approached me and said that, oh, I can't draw. Like, you might be this big, great artist, but I can't draw. And I used to think that in my elementary school years, but I think that everyone has an artist inside them, and we just need to, you know, embrace it and be proud of who we are. Because there's so many art styles. Maybe I can't do all of them being an artist myself, but that doesn't mean that I don't have an artist inside me. So just wanted to bring that up.
That's a very good point. I appreciate you bringing that up. See, sometimes I need a redirect. I'm always open to it. As stubborn as I can be. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much, Caroline. And thank you for spreading your beautiful light as well. Yeah.
Thank you. And make sure to like, subscribe, comment below. What was the biggest takeaway from today? I'm sure Gurm would love to see it. And we will see you on the next episode.